We may live over 5,000 miles from Lincoln Financial Field, but what we lack in proximity, we make up for in film study. And each and every week, we'll be bringing you in-depth film breakdowns from across the pond and the Sooner State. Welcome to On the Shane page. I am your host, Shane Haff. You can follow me on Twitter at Shane Haff NFL. And I'm joined by BGN's own film guru, Jonny Page. Give him a follow on Twitter at JohnnyPage9. Johnny, how are you doing this evening?
I'm good. I've literally been in, so it's UK time this is evening, for about 5 minutes a day, which with a 4-week-old is a tough day. And I've realised I'm looking at myself that I'm wearing zero sport attire. I haven't got my usual green T-shirt or anything. I look like I'm going out somewhere. Yeah, highly recommend not having a 4-week-old and then working on the NFL draft at the same time. Film watching has been unbelievable. Trying to get my notes done has been one of the hardest things I've ever done. There's been a lot of baby on my chest while I'm trying to type. So thank God for spell checkers, because the amount of errors I've got where I smash buttons in the wrong order is sort of insane. But I've actually got loads covered, Shane. I've got so many draft takes, but I'm so late. I've got no time to tell anyone them. So today's show, the Patreon show, if you're not over on Patreon, by the way, and you want to see another show, we're literally going to go live immediately after this, and live as well, where we're going to judge some mock drafts, talk about some other players. But I've just got so many takes because I've been watching so much film because I've had a lot of time that I just want to get them out there now, Shane. I'm sort of ready. And this is the first one I've actually really spoken about the draft on a podcast. So despite the fact I don't know what time it is, I don't know what day of the week it is, I am ready to rock.
All right. Well, let's dive into it then. Like you said, we are going to be recording a Patreon show where we are grading our Patreon members' mock drafts right after this. So we better jump into this one so we don't get too long. And so today we are covering round 1 draft targets for the Eagles. Next week, we'll be back to talk about day 2 draft targets for the Eagles. So maybe there's some guys that you like that we don't mention today, or we kick it to next week. But we're going to get through round 1 and day 2 guys beforehand. So I think it makes sense just to do this position by position, Johnny. So let's start on the offensive side of the ball. And let's talk about the quarterbacks you would draft in the first round, Johnny.
Yeah, can I just really quickly jump on as well? We've got a good comment, Miss Chris, saying I'm not on Patreon. Get on Patreon. I mean, I'm saying that because you're supporting us, but I promise you, and I genuinely do mean that, we've had very few people that have joined quit. Surprisingly so, actually, because when the season ended, I think both of us thought, wow, we built up something really cool there, and it was going to come crashing down as the off-season hits. But I do genuinely think the community we've got on there is awesome. I haven't even tweeted this yet, but a lot of the Patreon community bought me a nice little present for the newborn, and that sort of sums up the kind of people we've got in the Discord as well. I have to make a very sort of, what do you call it, an announcement at the start. I have to own up to something. I have not finished my evaluations yet, Shane. I've got a little bit of free time tomorrow, and my knowledge of the offensive line is not perfect. So you might have to carry me with O-line prospects. I've watched a few. I've got some very brief notes on like Josh Simmons, Will Campbell, Membo, and a few others. But I would say anything I say today on the offensive line, please don't take as gospel, because I will absolutely change my mind. I don't know about you when you finalize rankings, but I will quite often finalize my rankings, and I'll change things because I'll read something else, or I'll watch another game, or I'll see what someone else has said about someone and I think, I didn't think about that. So yeah, offensive line, I hold my hand up. I'm not fully there yet. So you're going to carry us with the O-line. Sorry.
All right, that's fair enough. I'm not watching anything else. I will pass back through my rankings and make sure nothing looks off to me, but I'm done watching. I'm so over watching film. So I'm done with that. Let's go to a couple of comments before we get in. TP says it's 100% not Malachi Starks or bust. Pierce, Nolan, Amos, Grant would all be hits. GGN says the Patreon is mega worth it. Tons of content, even during the off season. And TP also says to stay away from Connerly, in my opinion. So let's get into it. Johnny, what quarterbacks would you take in the first round if you were the Philadelphia Eagles?
Yeah, so the other position I haven't watched is quarterback. So because I'm so Eagles focused this year, no one. So I haven't watched any of them, but no one with the Eagles aren't going to take a quarterback in round 1. So yeah.
All right, no quarterbacks. I'm with you. What about running backs? That's going to be a no too, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be a no. We're going to be realistic here. So we're not going to mention like, oh, I'd take Ashton Genty because I think we all know he's not going to be there. So no, the Eagles are not going to take a running back. So this discussion can begin at wide receiver.
All right, so let's jump into wide receiver. And Jonny, what wide receivers would you realistically consider in the first round for the Eagles? I honestly don't know that there are any for me.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, definitely are for me. We haven't spoke, by the way, at all off air about our rankings, and I think we deliberately do that to try and add a little bit of interest to the show as well. So I said I was going to grill you about Will Johnson in the Discord because I very, very briefly saw your rankings on him, but that was more of your the group's rankings, wasn't it? Not just your own. I would. Oh, wide receiver is interesting. I'm going to guess that there's no chance of them being there, but I would take McMillan if he was there, but I expect him to go a lot earlier. I know the Eagles don't have a huge need there, but in all honesty, in this draft class, when you're picking 32, it's a bit of a luxury pick. It's not like you're going to take this outstanding edge rusher at 32 anyway, who's going to change your future of your defense, let's say. So I'm happy taking a luxury pick at 32 personally this year. I think the roster's in that position. So I will take McMillan.
I do have the ESPN analytics predictor stuff up, so I can tell you they currently have Tet McMillan drops down below a 50% chance of being available at pick 13. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm using as a guide. Yeah, I would take McMillan. I just don't think it's realistic he'll be there.
I would also take Matthew Golden. I'm guessing that there's no chance he's available either with whatever he ran a 4.2940. They're the only like tier one guys I have. I'm not including Travis Hunter because he's going to be way gone. Then I think you can start a discussion over Luther Burden and Ekbuka, if that's how you pronounce it. I love Ekbuka, but I wouldn't take him, not because of his talent levels, just because I think he's a volume wide receiver. And I don't think the Eagles need a volume wide receiver. I just don't think he's a fit in what the Eagles want to do. I don't like Luther Burden anywhere near as much as Ekbuka, yet I have Luther Burden ranked above Ekbuka. For the Eagles, that is, because whatever you think of Ekbuka, I'm sorry for Luther Burden, I think he's a bit of a wild card, and I think he might not be very good, but I think the talent is unbelievably good, and I think he's got a little bit of explosiveness to him, and the Eagles might decide that they're in a bit of a luxury position where they can try and develop an ultra-talented guy, even if he's not good enough now. But would I take him? I would not. And that's it for me at receiver.
Yeah, I did not like Luther Burden at all. Not a big fan there.
Filming isn't great.
Yeah. Ekbuka I like, but I gave him a second round grade. And I think McMillan's gone. McMillan and Golden are both going to be off the board before the Eagles get there. And I just would be hard pressed to want to take a receiver, given what the Eagles already have at receiver 1 and 2. To me, that's just more of a day 2, day 3 position for the Eagles. So I don't know that there's really anybody realistic at wide receiver that I would like to see the Eagles take. However, that's not the case at tight end. I don't know how realistic it is for Colston Loveland to be there for the Eagles. But if Colston Loveland was there, and ESPN Analytics shows him going somewhere around the late teens, so they don't think it's likely. But Colston Loveland is a guy that I would sprint the card in if he was there at 32. What are your thoughts on Loveland?
Loveland's my tight end 1. So Bleeding Green commenters are about to absolutely abuse me, as I haven't actually checked the comments of my article, which got posted today. But the first thing I read, literally, I haven't had any time to read anything. But the first comment I read began with, Jonny, I do respect you, but, which is always a sign that comment is going to be an absolute a disaster towards my rankings. Yeah, I had Loveland tight end 1 for the Eagles. Not that I'm anti Tyler Warren. I just don't think maybe Warren is a slam dunk top 10 pick. I would absolutely take Loveland. In fact, I would go one step further and say I'd trade up for Loveland if he was available. I think the way I know it's like too much on the eye test. He just looks exactly what I want a tight end to look like. Like he just looks long, fluid, athletic. Like he just looks like the guy you want. I would obviously take Tyler Warren, but there's no chance he'll be there because someone's going to look at his ability after the catch. I think the two interesting ones for me, Shane, is I would consider, and I would rather a trade down. So I'm not saying I would take them. I think talent-wise, I would take Elijah Arroyo.
Elijah Arroyo?
Yeah, I think I would take him talent-wise, but injury history is a concern. And 1 year of good production means I probably would rather trade down. And the other tight end I would like consider is Mason Taylor. I don't think he's talented enough for pick 32. I think he's more of a tight end 2. I really, really like his film in the way that could develop over time into a starting tight end. But I'm not sure 32 is a little bit rich, maybe. But if the Eagles did any of those 4, Loveland, Warren, Arroyo, or Taylor, I wouldn't hate it personally.
Yeah, I would not. I really like Mason Taylor. I would not like that at 32. To me, he's a trade back candidate. And he's my third tight end behind Warren and Loveland. So I would not really like Arroyo that high either. So to me, it's Loveland at 32, maybe a slight trade up I'd be okay with, or it's moving back and maybe targeting a guy like Mason Taylor in the second round. But
yeah, the only thing I'd say to that is, I agree. But the more I look at pick 32, I'll be honest, I don't like a lot of guys at pick 32. Everyone I like is basically going too early. Like Mason Taylor, oh, he's not really worth it. But I'm like, but could he be really good? And in this draft class, if he's going to be really good, and the Eagles maybe have a future need at tight end, whether not this year, it doesn't sound like Dallas Goedert's going to be around long term, bad injury history. Do you know what? I think there are worse picks they could make at 32 in this particular draft class. So everyone I look at, I go, oh, I wouldn't draft him there. I'd take him. I'd probably trade down. I'd trade down and take him. I'd trade down and take him. And eventually, like 32 players have got to go. So It may be the case that unless someone significantly falls, you might have to take someone. It's all very well saying we want to trade down. But if there's no one available to trade up for you, I think at some point you might have to take someone. So I wouldn't be completely anti either of them, Arroyo or Mason Taylor, although I don't think they are worth pick 32, as again, I'm not particularly high on this draft class in general. So,
yeah, I would, if they took Taylor, then okay. I mean, there's got to be two to tango when it comes to trades, and that may not be the case this year because it really feels like once you get out of like the top 10, guys are everywhere, and a guy could be mid first round or late second round. There's just a log jam. There's not a lot of like round 1 talent, and there's a lot of guys in the middle. So it just depends on how teams view guys, and you got to have that trade partner. But in an ideal world, I would rather be taking Mason Taylor in the second round. But let's go on to offensive line. And you said you haven't gotten to a lot of offensive line, but of the guys you've looked at, what sticks out to you?
You start, and I will comment on the ones I've seen rather than me miss out someone important. So I've only got notes, literally looking on my phone because this is my life. I haven't even typed up any of my notes. I'm currently looking at what I've written. It's because I handwritten, Christ. What I have written on my phone because I haven't typed up my reports yet. Okay. So who is I know there's obviously the top guys who will be nowhere around at this pick. Should we just start actually showing big picture? Would you take an offensive lineman in general? Would it be a guard only? Would you take the future tackle that the Eagles have been linked to for ages? Just like philosophically, ignoring individuals for a second. How do you feel about taking a guard at 32, considering what the Eagles have already got, or let's say a tackle?
I am not okay with taking an offensive lineman that won't start in the first round. So if you always get should the Eagles just, if a tackle's there, it's tackle only, you get him and you let Jeff Stoutland work with him and he's the the Lane Johnson replacement. I'm so far out on that idea that it's not even like, no, I would be furious if the Eagles draft an offensive lineman to sit on the bench. So I'm out on that. Which means, I mean, Armand Mimbu and Will Campbell are both going to be off the board. Josh Simmons, Kelvin Banks potentially will be there. They're both tackles. I'm not interested in the least. So to me, if I'm taking an offensive lineman in the first round, I am taking a right guard that's going to play right guard. And I mean, it feels like the Eagles just don't want to play Tyler Steen. He wasn't really given a shot last year. They went and they got Mekhi Becton, and he was the guy. And I mean, before that, he hasn't seemed to be a guy the Eagles want to put on the field. And so I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. And so a guard that I really like is Tate Ratledge out of Georgia. He's played 2,000 snaps at right guard in his career, 9.96 relative athletic score. I think he is pro ready. I think he's scheme diverse. I think he's ready to start right now. he's the guy. For if I'm taking an offensive lineman in the first round as the Eagles, that's probably the guy. That's a little rich for me still. Like I gave him a second round grade, but it's the same conversation we just had about Mason Taylor. On Birds of the Roundtable this week, we did a first round mock draft where we drafted guys based off what we would do for each team. And the board didn't fall well for the Eagles. The defensive tackles, the edge rushers, they weren't there. The corners weren't there. And so when we got to 32, I was like, well, for me off of this board, it would be Ratledge. And I wouldn't love it, but I'd be okay with it. And so to me, that's the one offensive lineman that I look at as an Eagles target at 32 that probably wouldn't upset me. You're muted.
Sorry, good start. It's the same debate we had last year, isn't it? Where my gut tells me that I don't want to take a guard at 32. Like my philosophy around the Eagles' offensive line is at some point when your offensive line is so good and your coordinator is so good and you've already got a good player in Tyler Steen who you should be able to coach up, do you need to throw a first round pick at a right guard? Like, is the improvement on Tyler Steen going to be that severe? Should you not be able to get someone a little bit later as a guard? Like 32 for a guard seems high to me. So I basically want the impossible player that doesn't exist. I want this mythical future tackle who kicks inside to guard. If I'm taking someone, and Shane's nodding his head because we had this exact same argument last year. And I think you're right, by the way. I think the odds of getting a tackle prospect who can kick inside to guard. So I had a look at a couple of them. And I'm sorry here because I'm now looking at the consensus board at the same time. So someone mentioned Connolly, didn't they, in the chat because the Eagles brought him in. He's around pick 30, isn't he? I thought, for example, like his issue was his anchor. And I don't want to kick someone like that inside. So I wouldn't want to draft someone like Connolly if I don't think they can play inside, even though he's got future tackle. That's where I struggled with. And to be honest, I almost came to the point where I struggled a little bit because the offensive lineman I looked at, I think we're going to go. Like Josh Simmons, I really, really, really liked in terms of how clean he was. But again, is he someone you can see going towards guard? Possibly not. There was one guy that I watched, but I think goes a lot later. So he's not a first round guy. And I thought he could have possibly kicked inside to guard, Belton, but I know he's nowhere near pick 32. And then the guys that I looked at were already gone. I think Zabel seems to be a very, very popular name, but I've seen some people suggesting he might even end up at center. He's the interesting one, isn't he? Because Zabel's the one with really short arms, and he looks like maybe a guard or a center at the next level. But I think he has played tackle, if I'm right.
Yes, he played 1,000 snaps at right tackle and 974 snaps at left tackle. He also played 450 at left guard and 220 at right guard.
Yeah, but I think he's got a lot of shorter arms, isn't he? So a lot of people are projecting him to kick inside, to guard and tackle. So I don't really have, and I'll be honest, as I said, this is the position I haven't watched a lot of. Funny enough, I've watched a couple of the later guys, but not as much as the early ones. I don't like the idea of an offensive lineman in the first round, to be honest, in general, because I think the Eagles O-line is probably already really good. And I think it should still be very good with Tyler Steen. And I also think you should be able to develop Tyler Steen. I think he's got enough natural talent and athleticism to develop him. I also think that you've got some interesting options like Trevor Keegan, who you could try if things go wrong. I think you could add an offensive lineman. I just don't know if it needs to be at 32. I think the only way I'm doing it at 32 is if I'm getting a tackle prospect. And I know you're going to nod your head again. But if I can get a tackle prospect who can potentially kick inside for guard for a year, then I'm on board with it. And I haven't got enough of those players that I've looked at. I very briefly looked at Kelvin Banks. I don't know how high he's expected to go. But I think he's got good. When I looked at him, I think he was like 6'4", 320, and I wonder if he could kick inside at 320 pounds. But yeah, I don't have a specific name for you. But I think just philosophically, I want somebody who can play tackle down the line.
Yeah, I would rather just draft a straight right guard than try to do the tackle that can kick inside things. So
it's too early.
I mean, in the last 4 years, 9 guards have been drafted in the first 40 picks of draft. So I think the league's telling you that's not too early. So, and especially in a draft like this, like where we think there's less good talent.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, okay, if I feel really good about this guy that has played 2,000 snaps at right guard in his career and can plug in and start day one, and the board doesn't break my way, I'm okay with that. And there's other names you could throw out. There's other guys that are consensus higher than Tate Ratledge, like Donovan Jackson and Tyler Booker, but I have those guys both ranked below Ratledge personally. So
yeah, I must admit, I'm looking at my notes, and when's Kelvin Banks expected to go? Because I one of the things I specifically wrote down was like just enough arm length to play tackle, but may end up at guard. But I think he's only ever played a left tackle.
Yeah, he's played 2,700 snaps at left tackle. ESPN Analytics has him in the late teens to early 20s.
Right, I haven't got to his testing data yet, so I don't know how he tested. And again, that's something that I need to look at afterwards. But yeah, it's really hard. What I philosophically want is really tough to actually do, basically, is what I'm saying. It's really hard to get someone that can kick inside and end up playing tackle later on. It's far too easy for us in our watching on our laptops, just saying, oh yeah, just play one position for 1 year and then change position after a year. It's like, it's a totally different world for offensive linemen. Not all of them can just kick inside, kick outside that easily. Right. And I think sometimes we, even though I'm saying I'd like it, sometimes we basically think it's far too easy than it actually is to do so.
Yeah, Banks was an 8.26 relative athletic score. 6'5" and an 8, 315 pounds, 33.5-inch arms. So, and not only in that scenario are you asking him to change positions, you're asking him to change sides from left tackle to right guard to eventually right tackle. So I don't know. I'm not crazy about that. I gave him a first round grade. I'm not crazy about that for the Eagles though. So, okay. Let's hop on to the defensive side of the ball where I think the conversations get a little more interesting. Let's start with edge rusher. Jonny, what edge rushers would you be interested in the first round?
I would obviously be Abdul Carter gone. Obviously, I have Jalen Walker as an edge defender. He'll be gone. To be honest, I think most of the guys I'm telling you will be gone. I have Mike Green in round 1. He'll be gone. I have Shamar Stewart in round 1. He'll definitely be gone. Maybe the interesting names are Michael Williams. I think he'll be gone as well. And then I think the one that I would consider that I don't know when he's expected to go, and I can't pronounce his name. You'll hear this a lot when I do draft stuff because I don't watch any college football, so I have no idea who these guys are. But Donovan
Ezeraku,
exactly what I was going to say. He is one that I think I would take at 32, and I think I might be higher on him than others. I might be wrong. I need to check the consensus. And maybe he's around there, actually. I don't know what your numbers say. But yeah, I would take him as well. They're the five guys or so that I've mentioned. So Jalen Walker, obviously, that will go. Shamar Stewart will be gone. Mike Green will be gone. So Michael Williams and Donovan Ezeraku would probably be the ones that I would take. And there's probably a few names that maybe someone would have expected me to say that I don't have that high.
Yeah, Donovan Ezeraku is 32 on the consensus big board.
There you go.
I had him a lot lower than that. I wasn't a huge Donovan Ezeraku fan, but yeah, I feel like I don't know that there's a good edge fit for me in the first round. Like Abdul Carter is going to be gone. I really like Mike Green's play. I don't think the Eagles would even remotely consider him. I've heard off the field concern things with James Pierce Jr. as well. So those are the 3 guys I gave first round grades to. And one of them,
James Pierce that high. Yeah.
Yeah. And one of them is going to be a top 5 pick. And the other 2, I don't think would be on the Eagles board period.
James Pierce just seems so straight line fast to me, like fast, but I didn't see any bend. I didn't see any power. And I'm like, if you can't bend, then you can't play with any power. I don't know. I said I wouldn't hate it at 32, but I personally have him in that first to second round tier, not as high as 32 personally.
Yeah. And he's super underweight. Like he's 91st percentile height, but 17th percentile weight. So presumably you could bulk him up a little bit. And he doesn't have power or mass, so he's going to struggle in the run game. But he might bring that. He might have an elite pass rushing ceiling. He's got a lot of those athletic traits, just needs refinement in that area. But I think he's going to be gone to begin with. And I also just don't know if he would be on the Eagles board, period.
This is a weird ed class in general. There's like so many guys in that second tier that I have, like JT Tuimalu, Landon Jackson, Nick Scorton. Where do you have? I got to stop picking names I can't pronounce. Where do you have Princely?
Uman Mielen. He is my number 4 edge.
Yeah, see, I had him and I said I'd consider him at 32 and I thought I'd get laughed at the building, but because I know in consensus he's way down, isn't he? He's like late 50s or something. Yeah. But if you wanted just a pure edge rusher, if the Eagles go, do you know what? This is not a very good class. The ball's not fell the way we want it. Let's just get someone who can rush the quarterback. He can rush the quarterback. He may not be able to play the run ever, possibly ever. I watched him get blocked by tight ends at times in the run game. I didn't see a great counter move. In all honesty, I thought we looked lazy against the run at times. I just didn't think he'd compare him to someone like Nolan Smith, who looks like he wants to go and hit. Princely did not want to go and hit. But if you want to just draft like a luxury pass rusher at 32, like he can drop into coverage as well. He's got the size to be able to do that. Like maybe you go for it. But it's a strange edge class where I sort of like a lot of the guys, but don't love a lot of the guys. Like I've seen rumors about like Nick Scorton and stuff going at 32, and I just didn't see him anywhere near at pick 32.
I do have Nick Scorton ranked higher than Mykel Williams, but I was just pretty out on Mykel. I watched Mykel Williams and I was like, that guy doesn't really know how to play football. I'm just kind of out on him.
He's not played very much football, has he?
Yeah.
He's just never averaged a lot of snaps this game. He's been hurt a lot, but I disagree in that when he plays, I thought he was unbelievably good as a run defender. And I would take him in the first. I think it'd be a risk, but I think in this class, I mean, look at Shamar Stewart, Shane. The guy can't rush the quarterback. Yeah. The guy literally he's got 4.5 career sacks. Like the guy doesn't have any idea how to rush the quarterback, but the guy is like an absolute physical monster, and he'll go top 10. He'll go in the top 10.
I have him below Mykel Williams, and I have both of them below Nick Scorton.
Oh my God, having Shamar. Yeah, see, I just couldn't take Nick Scorton over Mykel Williams over Nick Scorton over Shamar Stewart, because even if Shamar Stewart sucks, I couldn't pass on that athlete. Like he's just a ridiculous athlete. So
overall, there's a lot of edge rushers I like in the second round. There's just not a lot that I like in the first round, and the couple that I do, I just know are going to be gone.
Yeah, I think yes. I mean, as the guys that I mentioned, Smart Stewart will be gone. If Mykel Williams, what's the ESPN chances you think he might fall in? Because I assumed he'd be gone way before the Eagles pick, as will Mike Green, I'm guessing, right? And Jalen Walker. Those guys are all going to go top 20 in this class.
Let me see. Yeah, Jalen Walker is supposed to be like a top 8 pick.
Yeah,
according to ESPN Analytics. Mykel Williams looks like his range is like mid-teens to early 20s. Okay. Who else did you ask? Mike Green?
Shamar Stewart and, Jalen Walker.
Looks like they have Mike Green in the mid to late 20s. And
really? Okay, so Mike Green is but he's the one he's got off the field, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing.
I don't think he's even on the Eagles board, given what Howie had to say about some of that. So I don't think he's in play. Shamar Stewart, it looks like they have in the mid 20s as well, which would surprise me.
He's never. Shamar Stewart's going top 12. Did you look at the guy's combine? Wasn't he like one of one? Wasn't he basically like? And not just look at his combine. If you watch the guy, he does remind me. Who's the guy who was an absolute freak who the Seahawks drafted a few years ago, though, who just couldn't play either. The Eagles. Was it Seahawks? Was it who drafted Tyree Wilson? Or was it?
Wasn't that the Raiders?
Was it the Raiders? Yeah. And he's never. Really,
I was out on Tyree Wilson too, by the way.
And he's a good example that but what an athlete! And he went like top 10, didn't he?
Yeah.
It's a strange edge class. I think we've said it a few times, but the way this class is, I think you take the shot on upside at 32. If you think you can get something out of someone like Izaraku or something like Shamar Stewart and they're nearby, I think you take the shot on athleticism in this draft class, because I don't think there's necessarily a safe bet in this particular year.
Yeah, I just, Izaraku is so small, man. 29th percentile height, 23rd percentile weight. I just struggle to see him ever having a chance to be a 3-down player in the NFL. Like, I feel like he's a stand-up pass rush specialist that is going to struggle against NFL tackles and also not be able to play the run. I definitely don't like Izaraku. at 32.
Yeah,
If you
interesting.
took him at 64, I'd be okay with it.
Where's he? See, this is interesting because I literally said, like, I wrote in my negatives for him. I said undersized, plays undersized, isn't explosive, light frame, will seriously struggle against powerful linemen, will struggle early down, simply has to get stronger, but knows how to rush the quarterback. 18% pass rush win rate, 14 sacks, change direction, free cone time, good. Variety of pass rush moves. He knows how to use his hands. Like, for me in this particular class, I think I wrote this as well. I think he'd be the most bendy edge defender the Eagles have already got from day one. The Eagles have got quite a few, I guess, power rushers. I mean, Jadix Hunt's I wouldn't call necessarily naturally bendy. I think Nolan Smith's a bit more speed to power as well. I think if you wanted that sort of traditional bendy edge, force the quarterback to step up guy, I would consider him because I don't think the Eagles have got someone like him on the roster. I mean, I basically said he'd be a Bryce Huff replacement. So he might be very much like Bryce Huff in that he gets blocked by tight ends and can't play on early downs. But hopefully he can actually rush the quarterback, which obviously we didn't see out of Huff last year.
Yeah. All right. Shall we move on to defensive tackles?
Yes, because I think DT is probably the highest percentage chance. Would you say they pick? Maybe.
Yeah. I think so. We got a question here from Yako. Said, what happens if the Eagles just don't pick in the allotted 15 minutes? Do they have to wait until Friday to make a selection? It seems like it only happened in the middle of a round. I honestly have no idea because normally, like, you're still on the clock, but the next team can jump in, but it's the end of the first round. So
maybe we should do it just to see.
Yeah, I have no idea what happens in that.
How he gets a whole extra night to think how he's playing.
Yeah,
mind games with everyone else. He's done it again. Done it again.
Checkers.
Yeah.
It's probably like Roger Goodell says the second round starts and you get like the Eagles guy and whoever has pick 33 sprinting to the podium to try to beat each other at the same time. It'd be great fun. So, okay.
Yeah, who knows?
Let's go to defensive tackle. I think Eagles fans are pretty familiar with some of the names there because this is the place it seems like the Eagles, everybody's sending the Eagles. And the two names are Walter Nolan and Derek Carman. And I think either one of those picks is an absolute slam dunk at 32. I would also be fine with a trade up to get either one of those names. So if you bring me one of those guys out of the first round, I'm going to be really happy.
Is that it for you? Is it those two only, Harmon and Nolan? Obviously, Graham's going to have gone.
Yeah, Graham will be gone. I
actually think Graham's significantly better than Harmon and Nolan for what it's worth. I still have him as DT1, but I don't think he's in a tier of his own or anything. I think he's not as good as maybe some people would have you believe. Is it just those two? At this point, Shane, you've got about 10 people you'll pick. The Eagles they've got 32. It's got to be a few more.
There's not a lot of people I like at 32. Those two for sure. I'm trying to think. Not Kenneth Grant. It's too much. They already have Jordan Davis to play that same role. They do. Yeah, they do. And that's true. And so maybe if that's part of your plan, you're going to get Kenneth Grant. You're going to use him in the Jordan Davis role. Maybe you move on from Jordan Davis, or maybe you have them both this year and then you move on. Like that's a good, plug and play guy.
He's going
to be a nose tackle. He's a freak athlete. Like a lot of the stuff is Jordan Davis. Like he's got some flashes as a pass rusher, but that's never going to be his thing. But he can bull rush the pocket, and you could maybe go Kenneth Grant. Let's see, TJ Sanders. I think it's a little high for TJ.
I think it's a little high as well.
I like TJ Sanders, but I think it's a little high for him. But if you want kind of your penetration, pass rush specialist type guy, that could be TJ Sanders. And I think he's got the tools to develop into an every down defender. I don't think that's what he is right now. But I think 32 is a little rich for TJ Sanders.
Let's play a game for the people listening as well, and you, Shane. So obviously Mason Graham, done. He'll go early. I would absolutely trade up for Harmon or Nolan. I have Harmon above Nolan, but I basically have changed my mind about 25 times on who I prefer the most. I think I ended up with Harmon simply because of the pass rush win rate numbers this year, which I sort of decided to emphasize more. Then I would take Kenneth Grant. I have one more, not TJ Sanders. I have one more I'd take. It's probably the player that I'm higher on than anyone else in this draft class. And I don't think he's worth 32, but
let me guess.
Yeah.
It's Omar Norman Lott.
Hey, Shane knows me well. It is.
Let's go.
Omar Norman Lott.
I like him a lot as well.
I don't know what to do with him. Shane. The guy doesn't play. Well, what are you supposed to do with a guy who doesn't play? Like, I watch a film and the film's awesome. And then I look at the numbers and I'm like, oh, he played 17 snaps a game in 2024, Shane. He averaged 17 snaps a game. Germany college snaps he has ever.
I know so I wrote this down that he averaged 237 snaps per season his final 3 years in college.
It's less than 1,000. He has under 1,000 college snaps. When I say you can't find film against him against the run, I mean he barely plays against the run. Like I should get PFF's numbers up here. I'll try and do it as we're talking, but I would love to know, and I'm talking as I'm looking up stuff, how many snaps he played against the run last year.
Let me throw a stat on you for him.
I've got it now, by the way, if you want it. Yeah, tell me, and I'll give you after.
He averaged a penalty every 38 snaps over his final 2 seasons.
Less than ideal. He also, Shane, played 86 snaps against the run this year. In what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 games. So he played. So if you turn on the tape for Omar Norman Lott, you can watch him play the run 6 to 7 times a game. That's just not a sample size. Like, what can you do with that? You can't. I want to see him play pin pull. Oh, they didn't run that. Oh, let's see him play outside zone. Oh, well, that team didn't run. Like, you can't get a feel for anyone. It's like watching a highlight reel.
Can we combine him and Jordan Davis into one person and have the most elite defensive tackle ever? He
had a pass rush win rate of 18% for a defensive tackle. Like, what on earth is that? Who the hell has a pass rush win rate of 18% as a defensive tackle? Like, it's almost ridiculous. Only 139 pass rushing snaps, 13 hurries, 5 sacks, 9 hits, and the film's awesome. Like, hands, length, explosive, athletic. He looked like he could even bend the edge a little bit. Like, I know he's defensive tackle, but he had like the way he moves. He plays so hard, Sharon, on every rep. So hard. But you know what? I'd play hard if they gave me 17 snaps a game. Christ, imagine giving Jaden Carter 17 snaps a game. Can you imagine? The guy was playing 60 last year. So I wrote this. This is literally my evaluation in my draft card. I said, 32 is far too early for a guy who's never played 1,000 college snaps. The Eagles might be in a great position to take a risk and take him at 32. It'd be a huge risk, but the very worst, I think you are going to get an explosive sub rusher. This year, it's a massive luxury pick, but I keep saying it. I think the Eagles roster's good. I think the Eagles are in the position to maybe take someone a little bit luxurious that you wouldn't always say if you're struggling as a team, you desperately need. So I would consider him at 32, and I think on the consensus, he's down at like 60 or something. I got so many tabs open, I can't even see where he is.
I'll find it for you.
He's down at 84 on the consensus board that I've got, which is insanely low to me. But I get 81. It. Yeah, I totally get it. The guy's never played. Like, toilet paper, career snap cut at 977. Like, and by the way, I'm always the guy, if anyone's ever listened to me, that goes, there's a reason why he's not playing. So I bet his conditioning is like utter crap. But what can I do? With what I see, I really like him. So I would consider him. I don't think they'll take him. But you know what? It wouldn't stun me if the Eagles look at that and go, can he actually play? Because if he can, like, if he can play 20 to 25 snaps a game, the Eagles are in a position where they've got some good defensive tackles. Having a sub rusher for 15, 20 snaps a game at defensive tackle isn't a terrible thing.
I wrote pass rush specialist with a tantalizing ceiling but a low floor. He is a boom bust prospect who could be a great value in the early 2nd round or a really bad value in the late 4th round.
Yeah, and the Eagles might have the roster, Shane, to take a chance on it. Who knows?
Yeah. All right.
I've got defensive line.
Yeah. Okay. Let's keep rolling then. Let's go to linebacker. Jahad Campbell. I don't think he's going to be there at 32. I would absolutely take Jahad Campbell at 32 if he was there.
Yeah, there's no one else. Oh, yeah. Sorry. I'm fixing something there. Sorry if you heard that. My linebacker rankings are atrocious this year. There's no one. There's like 2 linebackers I've got with a day 1 or day 2 grade, Shane. It's rough. Yeah, I mean, I don't think he'll be there at 32. And I don't think the Eagles are going to take someone after signing Zach Baldwin to a huge amount of money. And whether we know what's happening with the Kobe Dean, you still got Dean, you've still got Trotter. I would have signed, the more I watch this draft class, why do we not bring back Oren Burks? But anyway, yeah, I mean, I'd draft him. I would take Campbell if he's there. I don't think the Eagles will, and I don't think he'll be there because this draft class is so bad. If you need a linebacker, you almost have to go and get him.
I would trade up for Campbell.
Would you really?
Yeah, not a long way.
For a linebacker, Howie would hate you. You're not going to work for the Eagles anytime soon, Shane. Yeah, I guess I would because, as I said,
I just think he's really.
Class,
I think he's almost a sure thing. Like he is a good linebacker. And
yeah, tackles well, runs well, can cover, can run, can blitz. I mean, I guess I would trade up for him because depending on what's available in this draft class. If you're talking giving up a mid-round pick and going up a few picks, I guess I would, but I think he'll go early because I think teams will. If you need a linebacker, there's your guy.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's go then to defensive back. So Travis Hunter, Will Johnson, both going to be off the board. Then I think you can start. I think Jahdae Barron will also be off the board.
Oh my God, I'd love him. Don't even know where I'd play him, but I'd love him. Safety, slot, backup, outside, everywhere. Technically good at every position. I think I'll stick him at safety and just pray. I would take him, but I think he'll be gone.
Yeah, I think Barron will be gone. So other guys, I know we haven't talked a lot about rankings, but I know
should we do cornerback first? Should we do corner first? Any other corners you'd take? Like out and out corners. I know defensive backs can be because I had Trey Amos. I would take.
Trey Amos and Benjamin Morrison are like fringe guys for me.
Ben Morrison's not an Eagles. I don't think he's an Eagles scheme fit. I think someone who wants to play a lot of press man will take him before the Eagles do. I also don't know if he's got the tools to be good, but I think the film's really, really good. Trey Amos and what about Hairston? Is it Hairston? Yeah, he's suddenly getting a load of buzz. I guess it's what happens when you run a 4.28 40, Shane, and have 6 interceptions in 20 career starts. I think the Eagles could consider him. I think he came in for a visit. I think our good pal Eagles Eric, who's been tracking the visits on his Twitter, I think he had Hairston down as a second round pick on his little tracker. But I think that he's attending the draft. And I think Dane Brugler said he thinks he'll go in the first, I think. Now frantically Googling it. Yeah, he is. He's been invited to attend it. So, I mean, I think he could absolutely go at 32. Toilet paper saying Revel would, is it Chavon Revel would be a dream? Dream for you, nightmare for me.
Yeah, I don't
32.
I don't like him that much either.
Sorry, toilet paper. I've got to stop calling you toilet paper. For everyone who's not watching the live stream is going to think I've completely lost my head.
I have him in the late second round personally.
I had him in the second round. ACL injury as well. Very raw. Trey Amos is the one that I'd look at. 6 foot, 195, 32-inch arms, press, fluids, zone. Like, I think he's good. I think I'd absolutely consider him at 32.
It's worth mentioning he's like the worst tackler I've ever seen.
That might be a problem. Yeah.
But so he had a 27% missed tackle rate this season. However,
Trey Amos?
No, Hairston.
I was going to say, I was like, I didn't think, that's fine.
Oh, I thought we were still on Hairston.
No, it's fine. I was looking at my notes thinking they got something horribly wrong because I wrote for Amos, he was a good run defender. And I was like, oh, no. When I say someone's a good run defender and then someone says he's got 27%. I put not the most physical run defender. Physicality, tackling, and issues need work. So, I agree with you.
I will say he apparently had a shoulder injury during the season and his missed tackle rate did spike after that happened. So it could be related, but he also just doesn't meet runners with the necessary physicality, which again could be related, but tackling was a work in progress. I said he was a developmental zone boundary corner. I think he could be a fit. His footwork's a little inconsistent. And there's some instances like his transitions, like there were reps where he gets stacked by wide receivers despite his 4.28 40 times. So
I think philosophically, like the Eagles have got enough at corner to survive not taking one in the first. I'd like to give Ringo a challenge, but you've got Adoree Jackson, you've got Ringo. I think there's a lot of talent when in next week's show. We will get to some day 2 and day 3 guys. I really like some guys like Jacob Parrish in the second round, possibly even as high as that. I think there is some talent available, but they don't have to reach on someone like a Hairston in the first round. That's just my personal take. Should we wrap things up with the reason why everyone hates me at the moment online, Shane? Safety.
Let's talk about why you hate Malachi Starks.
So I'll be honest, I'm a little bit confused. I've not finished my safety rankings yet, which is annoying because I really wanted to get it done, but I haven't been in today. I watched the class and was just like, oh. And when I read things, everyone was like, wow. And I was like, oh, am I totally out? And then I did some Googling, which I like to do to check I'm not mental. And then I was like, oh, crap, everyone's got him early. Everyone's got him early, Malachi Stark. But I've just started to see a few people just on my side. So first round mock, Danny Kelly, who's always done good draft work. His headline was, because I'll full disclosure, I Googled like Malachi Stark's 2024 film, not very good. I just didn't think his 24 film was very good, Shane. And Danny Kelly's article was basically talking about how much worse he got this year from 23, and I haven't watched him on 23. And Danny Kelly said that he gave Starks a first round grade in 2023, but his 2024 film was just not very good. And he said, literally in his words, missed tackles, poor run support, bad angles, poor job providing head over the top. And he said he ended up with a second round grade on him. And he even put in brackets, I wouldn't select him. And he questions, and I'm not saying this, but he questioned his motivation, just the lack of urgency. And when I watched him against in a couple of games, and I thought his run fits from deep were really poor. I thought he took really poor angles at times. I thought in the red zone they went after him. I looked at his athletic testing. It was like a mid-5 RAS score or whatever. The way
I struggle to rectify his poor combine testing with his film. Like, I thought he was a lot more athletic than he tested.
I don't. I thought he was sluggish the way he turned. I thought he struggled in the run game because he was a little bit sluggish. I mean, I looked at his I think he had a pretty disastrous free cone and short shuttle, which for a safety, who really cares? And then I read the beast, and Dane Brugler's got him 19th overall, and I'm like, well, I'm wrong because Dane Brugler's awesome. Mike commenting saying I thought he would be the biggest stand. I normally love those kind of guys. I love safeties. I want the Eagles to draft a safety. I'm not particularly on Sidney Brown. I just didn't really see it massively. But I watched Iman Wuri or whatever. He's got a 10 RAS score, and I thought this is going to be my guy. I'm going to love him. Dane's Brugler's got him 17th overall, and I was like, brilliant. And I'm watching him, and I'm like, yeah. I literally wrote he's a freak athlete, but he doesn't make any freakish plays.
Yeah.
So I struggled at safety. I did. I liked. Who was the one that I liked? Now I'm getting to my notes.
Xavier Watts.
Yeah, I didn't mind Watts. There was one that I really liked in a Fangio defense, which was Kevin Winston, but he tore his ACL last year.
Yeah.
He's very, very, very barely played. I prefer him playing top down rather than turning and running. So I liked him. I think Watts and Winston were possibly shading. We're going to end up as my 1 and 2. And I'm going to go back and watch more film tomorrow because I don't want to look like an idiot because I'm so out of consensus on that. And Malachi Starks is so obviously higher. I think the thing I'd say about Starks in the games I watch, and I wrote this, I'm not a hater. I wrote the good is special. I said when it clicks, it's unbelievable. Break up ability, blitzing, when attacking. I put his highlight plays are top. And I think that's why and I'm not accusing people of not watching game film. I think you like him and I know you've watched his games, but I think he's an easy player to turn on the highlights and like. But then I wrote just didn't play very well, I didn't think, in 2024. But I have also read that apparently he was outstanding in 23. And again, I've not watched any 23 film, and I appreciate that I've not watched it. So there will be others that maybe will really, really, really rate that highly. I'm looking at Dane Brugler's thing here. He didn't allow a big passing play in 2023, but he gave up 3 catches of 40 yards or more this year. And I'm not saying if the Eagles take him, Shane, I'll be happy because smarter people than me really like him. And I think there's obviously a very, very, very was a lot of talent to him. So I promise I will not be unhappy if the Eagles draft him. But I didn't see a star that I expected to see, basically. I didn't see it with him or Imanwari, which I found a little bit disappointing because I really want the Eagles to go out and get a safety. So I would be looking more in the second round at some of that second tier guys for me personally.
Yeah, I would take Starks or Watts in the first round if they were there. I really like Starks. I did make a note that I just said there's some reps where I just don't understand what he's doing. Like he'll make poor he'll chase a shallow crossing route when there's a vertical route that runs right at him sometimes. Like he just does weird things sometimes. And so I'm not sure what's going on there. I would love to like be in a situation where I could put some of those plays up and be like, talk me through what's happening here. Cause I don't understand it. And I don't know, don't always understand it. Don't know how guys are being coached. It just doesn't make sense looking at it. But I think he brings a lot of versatility in his alignment. Like he's taken a lot of snaps in the box, in the slot, at free safety, so you can move him around a lot. I think he generally does a good job like reading out routes and quarterback size and things with minus those examples I mentioned. So like I like him as a player. There's some things that just didn't make sense to me, but I would definitely take him in the first round. I like Xavier Watts. I gave Xavier Watts a first round grade as well.
Interesting.
I said he's going to maybe
interesting.
I said that he would thrive if he's routinely allowed to play around the line of scrimmage. And that's not really how the Eagles are going to use the safety. So
literally, Shane, my Eagles thoughts on my draft card. I'm unsure if Watts is the best fit for a Fangio style of defense. However, I did say he can play the slot and backpedals like a corner. What I liked about him was how he came from depth to play the run. I think he had some plays where he flew around the field. Yeah, the thing about Starks is I saw him as a highlight reel player, and I think philosophically, I don't like highlight reel safeties. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson was a little bit similar in that the bad was really bad, but the highs were really high last year. And I think in general, I see a safety as like, I want a dependable player there. And this is, by the way, I talk a lot about other people's rankings. I watch film, but anyone that thinks you should take opinions of someone who watches 3 games is gospel. There is so much we don't know. So I do look at people like Brugler. I do compare my notes to him. I don't change my rankings of Brugler, but I want to make sure that I see. And even though he had him at 19 overall, he says he had 3 bad missed tackles against Alabama. And I remember watching the Alabama game from Starks and didn't like it. He said he gave up Florida's first touchdown in 2024. And again, as I said, he gave up deep catches last year. I think he might have been a little bit more hit and miss. But as I've said, anyone that tries to pretend like they know all of this stuff, we don't know how they coach. We don't know what they're playing. NFL draft is so much about a projection. This year, more than ever, I've become very annoyed with how the draft's being covered. I tweeted something about it yesterday, about sort of how let me have a look what I even said. But the idea of like a consensus board and like what I care about is that you have an idea that everyone's on the same wavelength, coaches, scouts, personnel, GM, and that you look at things as a holistic view and you make the decision for the right reasons, which doesn't include like ownership getting involved or fans wanting this player or needing to plug a hole desperately. If they look at Starks and they're happy with what he does, I think he fits well and they're all on board, then I've not got a problem with it. I didn't love the film for someone as a first round pick, especially in a position that I think is really hard to draft in the first round, Shane, which is another thing we could talk about entirely, but not today because we've gone on too long. But I think philosophically, safety is a hard position to get right.
Yeah, we need to get out of here. But last, I'll mention Nick Emanwari, 10.0 relative athletic score. I'm just not into him as a first round pick for the Eagles. Like he's a freakish size, freak athlete, but he doesn't have the best vision. He's slow to react to concepts. So it's like he's super fast, but he gets a late start. So it doesn't really matter a lot of times. And maybe you can coach that up, but I just think like he is a box safety type player / linebacker hybrid that does not exist in the Fangio scheme. This is a guy you want to take if you're going to be a single high type team and you're going to put him up around the line of scrimmage. And it's not that, I wouldn't take him later, but I like to bet on the athletes, but I just don't think he's a good fit. So I'm going to not feel comfortable taking a projection to a scheme that I don't think is favorable at 32. So I'm kind of out on Emanwari.
Yeah. I like to bet on the athletes at edge defender and defensive line, not at safety. Give me instinctive guys at safety. I'll bet on the athletes at other positions, not at safety. Not that I don't like him, but again, I had him in the second round, not in the first, because I don't think the film's good enough. Again, I would bet on the athletes at certain positions, maybe not at safety.
All right. Well, there you have it, guys. Just some meandering thoughts through the positions of round one draft targets for the Eagles. None of it matters because they're probably going to trade back anyways and not even take a round one pick. But
trade up.
Or trade up.
Yeah.
So like we mentioned, we're going to get out of here. We're going to go record a show for our Patreon grading some of their mock drafts. And then we will be back on this feed next week to go through some day 2 draft targets for the Eagles. We'll walk through the positions. We'll talk about some more guys to get you guys prepared for the draft. So thanks for hanging out with us today. Thanks, as always, for supporting our work. We will be back on Monday or Tuesday of next week to get that show out in advance of the draft on Thursday. So we will catch you guys then.